What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we are on day 15 of the advent of cyber, and this is there's no place like a domain controller. So this is your Active Directory. So I will say this box is not going to be enough for you to learn Active Directory. So if you're interested, which you should be because this is how many organizations run, you will need to dig in a little bit deeper. Okay, apparently they added a AI assistant to help you with questions. Interesting. So you can see today we just need the VM, right? There's split screen. I recommend it. It's going to be I lost connection to it, but I recommend it. You're going to really be better off if you do it over here because it's going to be much more clear because it's going to be a lot for you guys. So when I say a lot, it's just going to be like there's a lot of little boxes and stuff. So first thing, if you get disconnected or you're having issues, you can log in with this, right? Everyone knows that. So here's the lore. Ahead of SOCMAS, the team decided to do a routine security check of one of their Active Directory domain controllers. Upon some quick auditing, the team noticed something was off. Could it be the domain controller has been breached? Now, I will tell you, this is definitely something you should be auditing for no matter what environment you're in. If you have Active Directory, you should be auditing if anything's changing because there could be some major changes. If you guys don't know, we're going to talk about Active Directory briefly. We're going to get into a quick high level, but we're not doing anything crazy, okay? If you want to, you could get an entire career off Active Directory, so you don't need to think that just because you don't understand what's going on that you're not understanding or you're not good enough or something, because Active Directory is a beast. So before diving into it, understand how network infrastructure can be mapped out to ensure, okay, LDAP provides a mechanism for accessing, managing directories. Okay, so here we go. Active Directory. AD is a directory service at the heart, okay, which is true of most enterprise networks that stores information. Now, you'll see a lot of people talk about AD and domain controller interchangeably. It's not necessarily the same thing, but they usually, Active Directory is hosted on a domain controller. I say usually because there's probably some weird instance where someone just did AD and didn't make a domain controller or something. I don't know. But domain controller is usually where Active Directory is installed. So AD is therefore a directory service. Now, here's what it can, the associated objects can include: users, groups, computers, printers, and resources. This is important because what I usually hear people say when they talk about Active Directory and they say, oh yeah, I'm familiar with Active Directory, you know, I did help desk or whatever. They think, okay, I know how to reset a user's password, so I know Active Directory, and that's just not reality. There's a ton more, right? And users is a small portion, but you also have to think about the computers. You also have to think about the groups that everything is in, including the computers, printers, everything. They all have their own rights, permissions, privileges, everything that is controlled in Active Directory. So that's why it is a dangerous place if you're seeing changes that shouldn't be there. Now, the building blocks of AD are domains. This is your local logical grouping of networking. So this is where you're looking at like, hey, I want stuffy.com, right? That's my domain. Everything under it, arching it, is what I want. So then you have your domain controller, right? So your domain controller, like I said, it has AD on it, but is not the same thing. Everything inside domain is subject to the same security policies and permissions. So this is where the domain controller, exactly like it says, can control that domain. I can control everything under that domain, under stuffy.com. Now, organizational unit, these are OUs, are containers, okay? So that's exactly what they are. They're containers. They look like folders. You put things in them, right? You can put machines, computers, users, printers, whatever. Put them in there, and then you can control them as a group, as a container, okay? And you can see it help group objects based on departments, locations. So a lot of companies do it differently. Typically, it's some sort of, like it says here, location, function, whatever. You're grouping them accordingly. Forest. This is a collection of one or more domains that shared schema configuration. Now, this may sound more complex, but it's pretty simple. This may have multiple domains in it, right? So, for instance, I don't know this, so don't go to Facebook and say I know their architecture because I have no idea. I've never worked with Facebook. But for instance, Facebook owns Facebook, Meta, Instagram, all these different things. Those might be the domains, and then they're all controlled at the top by a high-level policy that is the forest, okay? So keep that in mind. It can be a collection of more. Now, they keep in mind, like I said, I've never worked for Facebook. Facebook could completely have them separate. I have no idea. Don't really care. I'm just using it as an example because people are familiar with it. Now, trust relationships. Domains within a forest, okay, and across forest can establish trusts. So let's say company A over here works with company B, right? But you're not the same company. You don't want to just put your stuff together, you can build a trust. We can talk to each other. We can talk with our users. A good example of this is, hey, I have a group of users. You have a group of users where we work for the same company, same parent company or something, and we need access to the same resources. We can build a trust, and we can just say, hey, we'll authenticate people through yours, you authenticate people through us, and we'll just kind of have that intermediary, right? Now, core Active Directory components, you have your domain controller, DC, right? Domain controllers are the servers that host Active Directory services. So as I said, they store the AD database and handle authentication, authorization requests, such as logging in, all that stuff. Global catalog, okay, this is a searchable database within AD that contains a subset of information from all objects in the directory. The key there is searchable because that's kind of how it gets taken advantage of and stuff, but it has to be searchable based on functionality. So this allows users and services to locate objects in the domain, exactly what we just said. Even those that, now, LDAP, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. AD uses protocol to query and modify the directory. So whenever it needs something, it queries and modifies using LDAP, okay? Now, Kerberos authentication, this is the default authentication protocol. And again, Kerberos is way more complex than what we're digging into here, but it's good to know that you can dig into all this stuff if you want to. So we've got a group policy. This is what you guys, if you ever worked help desk or anything like that, you may have done some GPO updates and stuff like that. This is kind of the bread and butter of the policy as far as what permissions, things like that. So like your password policy, right? You can see here using the run window, they open up group policy management, GPMC, create a GPO in the domain, So they create this password policy and it's, hey, we want minimum 12 length characters, right? We want 10 passwords remembered. We want minimum password age. Here they don't have it defined, but you could have, hey, we need you to hold the password for 3 days before you can change it. So that way you can't just override the password history, which is what people do. They'll, I'm not going to dig into it, but yeah. So now that's where you kind of set the policies that are going to say, hey, what you can and cannot do, right? So again, deeper than what we need to do for this box. Common Active Directory attacks. Adversaries are always looking for ways. That's true. Golden ticket attack. I will tell you, very few pen testers, if any, will ever do this golden ticket attack. And if you want to know why, comment below and I'll tell you why. But if you are a pen tester, even a junior pen tester, and you get access and you say, boom, I can perform the golden ticket because I'm in and I got it. For the love of God, don't do it. For the love of God, don't do it. If you don't understand it, then put in the comments below and I'll tell you why. The only reason I'm doing that is just for little user interaction. It's a little fun, but it's not crazy. It's just it's one of those attacks that you don't need to be doing in a pen test environment. Pass the hash. So get your hash, pass it over, see if it accepts it. Boom. Kerberosing. This is a targeting Kerberos in which the attacker requests tickets for the service accounts, okay, with service principal names, extracts the tickets and the hashes, and then attempts to crack them offline. It's a nice way to try and get service account names or passwords, because service accounts don't change their passwords very often. Pass the ticket, okay? In a pass the ticket hash, kind of like pass the hash, right? Kerberos tickets, they steal them from a compromised machine and then use them to authenticate somewhere else, right? This attack can be detected through monitoring of ticket granting ticket requests, especially if users logged in from unusual location, all that stuff. Now, malicious GPOs. This is where you can, if you don't know your environment, if you are someone that just started working there, whatever, get to know your environment. You want to know the best way to defend against someone? The best defense ever is knowing your environment, because you know what's normal and what's not. If you hop in your group policy right now and you look at your GPOs and you're like, I don't know which ones should be there and which ones shouldn't, that means an attacker could come in, make a dangerous one, and you wouldn't know. And it can change anything. I mean, group policy can pretty much set anything you want. You can see here, they have one that's just set for the wallpaper, right? This is something that, some places are like, hey, I don't want them to use any other wallpapers. Here you go. And people might say, well, I've seen those, and then you just set a new wallpaper. But then when you log in, the GPO updates and you're back to the wallpaper. So that's kind of the point, is every time you log in, every time you restart your computer, that type of stuff, it's supposed to reset. And I say supposed to because it's notorious for not always updating. Now, you can see if you want to get the GPO, you say get GPO report, the name of it, and then you get this nice HTML document that is expandable. For anyone that's ever done been in compliance auditing, anything like that, you've probably seen these reports, these HTML reports, because this is the easiest way. If someone says, hey, we need, for PCI, for SOX, for GDPR, for all this stuff, HIPAA, whatever, we need your domain controller password policy. That's typically one they want, right? Cool. Let me give them this report. It's already in HTML format. They can click through, they can look at everything, and next thing you know, they don't need me, right? I don't have to prove anything to them. I pulled the report directly from. So that's really nice. Now, domains are naturally likely to have many GPOs, which is true. We can use the GPO commandlet with a bit of PowerShell foo, where to list those GPOs. So you can see here, they're saying get GPO all, where object modification time. So they want that modification time. Select object display name modification time. So these are the ones that are most recently modified. This is a handy snippet because it highlights policies that were recently modified, perhaps by an attacker. So if you think something's going on, this might make sense to do, right? So then you have Event Viewer. This is something you guys should know very well, because you should do this. If you aren't, do this on your own computer. Do this on, even if you're not doing security, if you troubleshot hardware issues, software issues, anything, you should be in Event Viewer checking it out. It's what it's for. So you can see Event Viewer has these Windows logs. Well, the security logs are going to tell you who logs in and logs out. Now, keep in mind, if you're on a network with domain controllers, right, and you're looking at Event Viewer on your personal computer, on your computer, you're probably getting logs for local accounts, whereas someone on the domain controller can get logs for everybody. So keep that in mind. Now, you can see 4624. Get familiar with that, because if you're like me and you've done it enough times, you'll have that memorized. That is a successful logon, okay? And 4625, I'll give you a guess. Yep, failed logon, right? So right there, these two are pretty easy to audit, right? If you get 5,000 4625 errors, pretty obvious someone's brute force attacking you or wordless attacking you or something, right? Now, user auditing, if you want specific users, right? You say get AD user, filter, blah, blah, properties. This is the properties they're pulling from them. The name, so you see, this isn't rocket science here. They're saying select object. I want to see the name. I want to see the SAM account name, and I want to see the groups they're in, right? That's it. Nothing crazy. Not anything extravagant, nothing like that, right? And you can see they're just giving us all the users, and this is what we're looking at. But you'll notice when we do it, there's one new account which was not there before, and that's what we're kind of evaluating. Now, reviewing PowerShell and history logs. This is actually why you never type one of the reasons why you never type a password in a script or in a PowerShell or whatever on the terminal on the command line, because there is a history file for everything, for Bash, PowerShell, whatever. And guess what? If they go back in it and you forget, there's your password in plain text. So we're going to go through some of these, and we're going to kind of look through and see what we can find. So first things first, it says for our tasks, use the security tab within Event Viewer to answer questions 1 and 2. So, well, 1's nothing. On what day was glitch malware last logged in? Well, here is our security logs on Event Viewer. Event Viewer is just on the desktop. Just open it up. Now, you can see it's loading. It takes a second. I'm just going to go in here, and they named it glitch malware. So I'm just going to search glitch malware, find next. I think that's what they named it. Yep. It searched. And then here we've got glitch malware, and account was successfully logged on. So that was the last time we saw him log in. And the reason I know that is because it was the first instance that I see here, and you can see it's going in descending order. So that means it's, as we get further down, it's getting further away. So 11/7/2024 is the first time we see him in this log. So they did this, I think, on purpose, just to kind of make sure you're paying attention. But you see, they did the day, month, year, not month, day, year, because I was thought I had the wrong date because I was messing with it. But there you go. So it's 7/11/2024. Now, what event ID shows the login glitch user? Again, you don't even have to look. You didn't even have to go back and look. It just told you right above, 4624. Perfect. Now, read the PowerShell history of the admin account. What was the command that was used to enumerate Active Directory users? Well, if you remember, it tells you right here, PowerShell history is right here. Oops. App data, Microsoft Windows. Get rid of that. We'll get rid of that period there. App data, Microsoft Windows, PowerShell, PS read line. Let's go. So now we can close this. We can open this. We can click here. We can just say boom, hit enter. And look at that. Here is our console history. We have who am I, IP config. So we have IF config, IP config. So these are things, by the way, if you're wondering, these are kind of signs that you would look for when you're investigating as well. If you see someone, if you type IF config and then IP config, it's not that big a deal. But if you're like a net ad that's supposed to work for this company, it might make you go, because this person has worked on these computers, especially if it's like a Windows heavy or a Linux heavy environment. If they don't know the difference, at least initially, mistakes happen, right? You're not going to be like, oh, that must be an attacker. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. But it makes you kind of think, because you think, someone that's doing this every day on these same computers probably would know which one. And so it doesn't make you go, oh, that's a bad person. It might just be, oh, he slipped his mind, whatever. But it makes you go, it's contextual clues, right? It's things to look out for. So if you see IP config and then IF config, vice versa, that means they typed the wrong one first. Could be nothing, but makes you think. So just think about it. Now you can see they're pinging some stuff. Now they're going get AD user filter properties. So there's the one that's enumerating people, right? Because it says get AD user filter asterisk, which is wildcard properties. I want members of in the select object name. So I just want the names. So they went ahead and ran that. I'm assuming that's our command that they're asking about. Yep, get AD user filter properties, all that jazz. Okay. Now look in the PowerShell log file located in applications and service logs. Okay. So let's go ahead and close that. So you notice it tells you where to look for, right? So make sure you're looking at application and service logs. So application service logs, you're looking at PowerShell. Boom. Okay. And now it says, what was glitch malware's set password? Now, you should never have passwords in clear text. If you do, that means somebody's typing them on a command line, typically, or you have a really crappy application. So if you do type password here, it should be the only instance. And you see, right away, we type password under the find there. And what's that? Right there. Well, this is something to keep in mind. You see how it says command set AD user KRBTGT? Password never expires true. If you remember what I said, why we never do a golden ticket, this has something to do with it. So again, comment below if you're curious why. All right, and then you can see another one. Okay, so we know those aren't it because we're looking for the glitch malware. And you can see right here, convert to secure string, super secret password as plain text, new user glitch malware. So the password is super secret password, and you can see it right there. Now, review the GPO policy object present on the machine. What is the name of the installed? Well, this one's pretty cool because if you go here and you look and you say get GPO and you say tack all. By the way, Windows is not case sensitive, if you guys know, so don't worry about like if you see them putting capitals and stuff like that. It doesn't matter. It's not case sensitive. So you can see this is the same as the screenshot, except this one right here. Malicious GPO glitch malware persistence. So malicious GPO to add backdoor user on all domain joined machines. Keep in mind one thing. The attacker's not going to name it that, right? They're not going to put a description of this is for me to get a backdoor to everybody. They're going to make it hard to find. It's going to look legit. So know your environment, right? And then there you go. Malicious GPO glitch malware persistence. Easy day, right? Now, one thing I will say is if you do like this room, if you're curious about AD, go to their Active Directory rooms and dig in because this is a very, very broad overview and they covered a lot of stuff that seems very easy, high level, but as you dig into it, it is not. And they're very complex concepts at each one. So make sure you dig into it if you really are curious. Thanks, guys. Hope you have a good one.